Hello, Notre Dame fans. A big time surprise on Thursday afternoon. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish land rivals 250 offensive lineman Aamil Wagner out of the Dayton area. Mike, you're out in Phoenix ready to cover some Notre Dame targets in high school football games. I'm on my way out to Boston tomorrow, but this is a good way for Notre Dame Nation to start out the weekend. What are your thoughts on this commitment?
Well, the first thing is I saw my phone and it's blowing up, and I'm like, what is going on? I wasn't even watching Emil Wagner's stream on CBS Sports HQ. I'm literally sitting in a hotel lobby right now, just getting some work done. And I mean, I literally spoke to sources on the Notre Dame side of things Thursday morning, and they were expecting it not to be Notre Dame. I'm in communication with those on the Kentucky and Penn State side of things. Everyone thought it was Kentucky. Actually, Greg, people thought Notre Dame was the third school
Yeah,
behind Kentucky and Penn State,
and that's something.
respectively. So, really is something you typically get these kind of movements and news on National Signing Day. But how about getting it on November 11th in the afternoon on Thursday? So
Yeah.
huge news. So that's kind of the surprise of it all, which was incredible job by Emil Wagner. Typically, when a kid puts out a commitment date, it's very easy for the Mike Singers of the world to then figure out where the kid's going to college. You can call up different sources, and typically at that point, he's made his decision. So good job by Emil for having a good commitment date and keeping everyone in the dark, including the Notre Dame staff. I was told that he didn't tell them until a few minutes before he announced. So
Yeah.
that's very impressive. And then in terms of this class, Notre Dame now has 4 offensive line commits, 22 total in the class, and those 4 offensive linemen are all Americans.
Mhm.
Joey Tanona, Ashton Craig, Naomi Wagner, All American Bowl commits, and then Ty Chan will play in the Under Armour All American game. So it's a darn good group by Jeff Quinn, and Wagner's a really good player too.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see Tai Chan this weekend in action. Mike, I think when we get a chance to settle down and reflect on this, this might be one of those cases where you conclude that, wow, Notre Dame does a really good job with its on-campus visits because they first got him on campus, right? And even at that time, the feeling was maybe outside looking in, and they clearly flipped the switch there.
Yeah, he had a great official visit to Notre Dame in June. It took officials to all 5 of his finalists: Notre Dame, Kentucky, Penn State, Ohio State, the local school didn't even wasn't even kind of down in the very end there, and then
Mhm.
Maryland. And then he visited 4 of those 5 for the fall. Maryland being the one who he didn't see, and he visited Notre Dame for that USC game October 23rd, and the feeling was that some of his concerns and questions about Notre Dame were answered. I just didn't think that they were answered enough to that they would be able to overtake Kentucky, where his brother Ahmad is on the coaching staff there as a
Right.
GA. So really impressive job by Jeff Quinn and that Irish staff. Marcus Freeman, Mike Mickens, they get a little bit of love considering the Huber Heights Wayne connection that
Yep.
those guys went to that school. And Roosevelt Mooks, the head coach there, coached those two guys, 20 years ago. So those guys get a little bit of love, but Jeff Quinn definitely led the charge in this one.
Just want to get your breakdown on Emil Wagner. Let's run some film from early on in his senior season here. Just your thoughts of him as a player and potentially as a tackle prospect.
Yeah, so he's listed at 6'6", 265, Greg, and he looks even a little bit leaner than that. And
Yep.
when I was at Wayne High School just a few weeks ago, actually, I asked the head coach there, Roosevelt Nukes, and said, "Hey, like there's people question, can he play at 310 pounds and be a starting tackle at the Power Five level?" He said, absolutely. We just condition these guys so much. Like we're the team that is never going to lose because we're tired in the fourth quarter. So he's just naturally a slim guy, but they feel like they can put the weight on him. Here's kind of an interesting um, thought here, Greg. Spoke to a source today in the maybe not comparison, but a player mentioned in the same light as Wagner was Joe Alt, and that you get this developmental, highly athletic football player on the offensive line. You bring him in, and you develop. Obviously, Joe Alt's development came along a lot quicker than we thought. He's arguably what Notre Dame's first or second best offensive lineman right now is a true freshman. I don't know if Wagner will have that quick of a growth early on in his Notre Dame career, but soon as he gets that size, adds on. I mean, his athleticism is there. He's a strong kid. When I met him, I mean, the dude's biceps are just busting out of his shirt. Like
Mhm.
he's a very strong young man. He's athletic. He's very, very smart. Talking straight A student, Greg. So huge pickup for Notre Dame on and off the field.
You and I were just crunching some rankings numbers, and as far as the team rankings and the well kind of covered story, and Brian Kelly talking about the need to have top five classes. Notre Dame doesn't move up in the current rankings. They're still at number 3. They still need a lot more, I think, to get into the top 5. But the key is that, I mean, they're going to have a top 10 class, and there's nothing ever wrong with adding a Rivals 250 player. That's for sure.
Right. I mean, so much has been made about the top five, top five, top five thing, and we're
Yeah.
talking according to Rivals here, of course.
It's
That
okay if you don't get
2021
top 5.
cycle, well, yeah, that 2021 cycles, that was top 9. That was the first top 10 class since it was years,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, I think since his
So there's a
number
lot of
3 class, maybe they had with like
in
Jalen Smith and those
2013.
guys. Yep.
Yeah, so that was the last top 5 class, let alone top 10 if my memory serves me correctly. So if we're just saying right now, Greg, yeah, this class will definitely be top 10, maybe top 5. That is showing really strong improvement because last year it was like, it's going to be in that 8 to 12 range. Now it's like in that 4 to 8 or 9 range. So it's good recruiting by Notre Dame. They need to continue to finish strong. Like these kids who remain uncommitted right now are either these top of the board, coveted players who can take their time, like an Aamil Wagner or Billy Schroff, offensive line from Wisconsin, or they're your kind of under the radar, lesser heralded players who are kind of popping up onto the scene a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see, does Notre Dame get more of that highly ranked group to finish the class, or more of your kind of developmental 3-star type guys?
Want to tell the users what you're up to out in Phoenix specifically?
Yeah, I mean, just here in a little bit, I'll be going out to see Notre Dame cornerback commit Benjamin Morrison practice and get to meet with him. And then tomorrow, I'll be going to a few high schools as well as Morrison's game against class of 2023 wide receiver target Kyler Casper. So you got Deuce Robinson out here as a 4-star tight end. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fit him in, but I'm hoping to see him while I'm out here in Phoenix. And of course, Anthony Lucas is another huge Notre Dame target that the Fighting Irish staff would love to land, top 100 player from Scottsdale, Arizona. Not a bad area, I've been told as well. This is my first time in Arizona. I hear Scottsdale's pretty cool.
Oh, you need to hump up, or you need to hump up. You need to climb up Camelback Mountain. It's the thing to do. It's somewhere near Scottsdale. I've only been out to Phoenix a couple times. I kind of forget the layout of the town, but I remember going out there. Gosh, who was it? God, there's a big defensive end 5-star prospect about 15 years ago. I went out there for his commitment
Hmm.
presser, and I remember climbing up that thing. Everett, Everson Griffin.
I'm not in the shape. I'm not in shape to do that right now, Greg. So let's just say I did it though. How about that?
All right, I'll be in Boston Saturday. Ty Chan is taking on Ronan Hannafin, Notre Dame's new wide receiver offer in the class of 2023. I might do some other stuff too. There's expect to be a lot of rain there Friday, but thankfully, hopefully in the clear for that game on Saturday. So we'll check it out. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. That's the latest on Aamil Wagner. Big commitment for the Irish. Like on this video, subscribe to our channel. Mike, safe travels. Have fun out there in Phoenix.